All right, joining me now is Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor. Mr. Secretary, it's good to see you tonight. A question I posed during the angle, right now, given the investment that we have already in Eastern Europe, what about Biden's comment that they tried to walk back, but I think everybody at this point is confused by?
Laura, good evening. Thanks for having me on. I heard President Biden's comments today. It's deeply confusing. I could not tell you what the Biden administration's policy is with respect to Taiwan today. I don't think anybody can. I'm not even sure President Biden fully understands what it was he said today. We knew this for 4 years. We knew that this all began at home. You talked about this in your opening. It begins with a strong American economy. It also begins with a strong American military, not one that's focused on getting every vehicle to be green and every soldier to be part of the diversity and inclusion crowd. It began with a military that could do its primary function, its primary mission. And today he talked about what we were going to do in Asia. But I must say there has not been a single action and not a single effort that supports what President Biden talked about. I'm as tough on China as you'll find. I've been sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party, but it's not about words, Laura. It's about deeds. And this administration hasn't shown the willingness to do what it actually takes to confront the Chinese Communist Party and support the people of Taiwan.
On the issue of confronting China for what it's doing here in the United States, you all were really serious about this. I remember you and I talking, what was it, 6 years ago, or almost, about the Chinese students in the United States. And the Department of Justice actually established a China initiative that in February the Biden administration disbanded. It was, focused on the espionage program that we thought was happening in a lot of our colleges and universities because, I guess, the perceptions that were unfairly painted of Chinese Americans. So wokeification of even our approach to espionage, Mr. Secretary, what does that tell you?
Laura, they're living in a fantasy world. They have walked away from the really good work we did here at home. I've talked about the Chinese Communist Party being a cancer that's inside the gates. You and I talked about this 6 years ago. 360,000 Chinese students studying here. We shuttered the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. They were running one of the largest spying operations ever conducted inside the United States of America. The Trump administration, we closed it down. We denied them the capacity to do what they were trying to do, to attend PTA meetings and school board meetings, all the things they were doing here at home to run influence operations inside of our country. This administration just, they called us racist when we did this, Laura, to be honest with you. The truth is what we were doing is we were protecting America from this very real threat of the Chinese Communist Party here on American soil. If you can't do that, if you can't take on that simple task, your ability to actually confront what Xi Jinping, I think, has in store for the United States is something he'll see this weakness, Laura, and he'll drive a truck through it.
Now, Mr. Secretary, I need to turn to the border issue, which I know is very concerning to you as well. Fox's Bill Melugin is reporting tonight that it took 2 weeks for ICE to rearrest a suspected terrorist who was released into the U.S. by Border Patrol agents after he was flagged by the FBI. We know we're vulnerable to the cartels and the drug traffickers. How vulnerable are we to terrorists, given how open this border is?
It's a very real challenge, Laura, something that we confronted with a great deal of seriousness and determination. It's partly a seriousness factor. It's also just a numbers game, Laura. When you have this many people coming across the border that are unvetted, unknown, unmarked when they come across the border, there's no way you can prevent the very real risk you describe. We were always worried about terrorists coming across the border. We've seen what you saw these last couple of weeks. We saw them attempt to do this. When you are an open borders nation, the bad guys will figure out the least expensive way to get through, the least costly way to get through, the least risky way to get through. And today, that's our southern border. This is truly dangerous for the United States. This is an awful lot of ungoverned territory down there, Laura, and we are now allowing ungoverned territory for people all across the world to come to and enter our country without being controlled. To watch them not be able to chase this terrorist down is just heartbreaking.
It's a dereliction of duty. At some point, you wonder if they want to. I mean, at some point, this becomes the policy. So, Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us tonight. Great to see you.